Coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the Sports Wagering Zone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on which time zone you happen to be in. We're at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're also podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. We're very easy to find. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Saturdays and Sundays, we're here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So today, of course, it's the last day of the week for NFL games. You have one game today between the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. The big question is Rodgers finally going to come alive and do his thing, or who knows what's going to happen. But we're going to review that game very closely. We're going to have check on the line movement of the game, the money line movement, and as well try to determine in which direction the pros are going to try to help you to make your decision in that game for tonight. So that's the story there. We're also going to talk about the underdogs and how well they've been doing, kind of give you some thoughts and ideas on that situation as well. But first of all, as always, the first thing we're going to do is take a look and see what happened yesterday as far as sports were concerned and as far as betting on sports, especially Major League Baseball and, of course, the NFL. Meanwhile, like we said, in baseball, the favorites went 11-4 yesterday. The Cardinals are minus 112 against the Padres, and now they've won their 8th straight game. So this is a game, a team you want to start watching if you're interested in losing streaks and in winning streaks, because whenever this streak comes to an end, you get into that swagger theory situation. We'll kind of keep an eye on that for you, give you an idea as to when it happens. And it's just another way, something else to bet on if you're looking to put something on the side on something else. Of course, the biggest upsets of the day were the Indians, plus 270 against the Yankees, and a team that we've been talking about a good part of the season, the tail end of the season as well, because the Tigers, plus 230 against the Rays. We said the Tigers have been a very, very good dog situation all season long. Yeah, they haven't won many games, but they definitely have covered, and they have won enough games on that side to put you in the plus column if you were on the Tigers all season long. Meanwhile, the favorites, well, they still lead. They're at 59.5% as far as win percentage goes for the season. And of course, the overs went 8-7 yesterday, cutting the unders really slim lead down to 50.1%. Just a niche over 50% as far as overs and unders were concerned. Meanwhile, in football, the NFL, the Ravens rallied to beat the Chiefs 36-35 on Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs got defeated. Same thing last season. They got defeated early in the season because last time was by the Los Angeles Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, actually, okay? And this time the Ravens beat the Chiefs 36-35. They were a 3.5-point home underdog in this game. They were a plus 170 on the money line as well, because it flew over the closing total of 53.5 points, as primetime games usually do. They're 5-0 so far on the over so far this season. Primetime games, we're talking Monday, Thursday, and late Sunday. They're 5-0 over so far this season. The favorites went 9-5 yesterday straight up, but the dogs still out there barking 8-6 against the spread, which is really what we're most interested in. The unders also went 8-6 on Sunday, including the Giants cover and their straight up loss at Washington on Thursday night. And The favorites are now 10-5 straight up, with the dogs still leading 9-6 against the spread so far in week 2, and 21-10 against the spread, which is almost 68% so far on the season. Now, also road teams, they're 9-6 against the spread for this week so far, including a Thursday night at 18-12 against the spread, 60% on the season. The others went 8-7 on the week and lead now 55% on the season. So Sunday had some real big things going on. And of course, as usual, we did have 3 selections that we talked about yesterday. Actually, 4 selections. One of them was San Francisco against Philadelphia. And in that one, the pros had Philadelphia. And of course, they did not cover. They were a 3-point dog in that game. And they also lost on the Bills in Miami. They liked Miami in this game, getting 3.5 points, yet they got blown out of the water by the Bills. And then they had 2 wins. The Rams against the Colts. They had the Colts in that game, getting 3.5 or 4 points, depending on where you were doing your business at. And also the Cardinals and the Vikings. They had the Vikings in this game taking 3.5 points. So yesterday, we had 4 plays, 2 winners, 2 losers. So far on the season, we have had 10 plays altogether. And out of those 10 plays, we've had 7 winners. So that's a fairly decent percentage there as well. So anyway, that's the story as far as how the pros did yesterday. And of course, the week before, they did exceptionally well, getting 4 out of 5 in that situation as well. But, as usual, they're up there in the very high numbers, but things will start happening, and the 60% mark is really where they kind of wind up being, and it kind of goes up and down. Right now, they're on the upside somewhere along the line. They're probably going to lose a few games, and all of a sudden it's going to drop down a little bit further, and as it gets closer and closer to around 60%, which is generally their winning percentage. So that's the story as far as yesterday. All the betting as far as Major League Baseball and, of course, NFL action as well. So we're going to take our first break. And if you've listened to the show before, we take 3 breaks in the show. Each one is of 1 minute duration. So if that's the case, we'll be back to take a look at the Monday night game, the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. Back in 1 minute. And here we go again. Welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you for listening. We're coming to you live right here, the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. We're here every Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as podcasting on most of your major podcast platforms. You can listen to us on Apple or Spotify, Google Podcasts, also as well, Sprecher, you name it. You can find us just about anywhere. So let's take a look at Monday night. It's the last game of the week. The week ends today. The new week will start this coming Thursday in the National Football League. Now, after posting that ridiculous 12-4 against the spread record in the first week, the underdogs continued to bark yesterday, loud and clear, went 8-6 against the spread, in the games on yesterday, including Thursday night's cover by the Giants. So the dogs are now at 67 and almost 68% on the season. That's 21 and 10 against the spread. Now, road dogs, they've been particularly profitable. They're going 13 and 4 against the spread. That's over 76%. Road dogs so far over 76%, 13 and 4. Now, going contrarian in heavily bet games has also paid off for those brave hazmat bettors. Baltimore plus 3.5 beat Kansas City 36-35 last night. The primetime dogs, listen to this, are now 4-1 against the spread. So those dogs are barking as loud as they possibly can. Now, of course, it's going to come to a point where it's not going to happen that way. They've historically been a smart bet in the month of September because the teams are still healthy. They're optimistic. Upsets are really more common in September, but you have to wonder if that legalization of sports betting has led to the dogs being even more profitable than before. We've talked about this before. With more than half the country now offering legalized betting, the general public has never been larger than this. Okay, a lot of them are betting for the very, very first time. And of course, when they come in, their biases are saturating the market like never before. This is what we talked about all season long. This is what's going on. The more bettors come in, the more public bettors come in. They saturate the market with all these biases that they come in with. And because of that, being a contrarian and backing the dogs may be more valuable than ever before because the public keeps getting bigger and bigger every day, makes it much more better for us dogs. So we here at the Sports Wagering Zone, we have been contrarians for the past 5 years. We did it when it wasn't even fashionable. So this is the time. Start thinking about it. This is a good time of the year to start looking at dogs as far as the NFL is concerned. Then you're going to get to a point where, some of the other favorites will start coming in, and we'll see how that goes as well. So in the meantime, however, let's talk where the smart money is going in tonight's Monday Night Football game. 8:15 Eastern Time. The Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. Both of these NFC North teams, they're looking to come back from losses that they took in the first week. The Lions are 0-1 straight up, but they're 1-0 against the spread. They lost to the 49ers 41-33 in last week's game, although they managed to cover because they were 9.5-point home dogs in that game, and they didn't come that far from actually possibly winning the game as well. Meanwhile, the Packers, they're 0-1 straight up. They're also 0-1 against the spread. They totally got embarrassed by the Saints, 38-3, losing straight up as 3.5-point favorites, but they were at a neutral site. If you remember, that game was actually played in Jacksonville because of this flooding situations that were going on in New Orleans. Now, the line opened with Green Bay, 11-point home favorite. The public says Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, hey, they're a great team. That's what the public's saying. They have to get back on track by really rolling over these lowly Lions from Detroit, really pouring it on. This lopsided action has pushed Green Bay up from being an 11 to an 11.5-point favorite. Now, some of the shops have even gone to 12 before some Lions buyback dropped the number back down again. The Lions match several profitable betting systems, most notably a contrarian road divisional dog in a primetime game. Double-digit road divisional dogs are 57%, not only over this season, the past season, but over the past 10 years. Primetime dogs are 4-1 against the spread this season. Monday Night Football double-digit dogs are at 72% over the past 10 years. Double-digit dogs are at 57% in the month of September over the past 10 years as well. Now, also, keep another thing in mind. When you have two winless teams and they're facing off against each other, the dog has really been a smart bet 58% of the time over the past 10 years. Now, we've also seen that pro money hit the total. It opened at 49 and a half. The public is rushing to the window to take that over. However, despite that lopsided betting, the line dropped from 49 and a half down to 48 and a half in spite of all that action coming in. Now, so what this means, some pro reverse line movement is here on the under. The pros are in on the under in this game, which is also a super contrarian in a heavily bet primetime game. And remember, historically, divisional unders that fall at least a point are roughly 54% over the past 10 years. Another reason to look at the under in this particular situation, the weather. The forecast calls for 15 to 20 mile per hour winds at Lambeau Field. When the wind blows at 10 miles per hour or more, the under is 55% for the past 10 years. Now, that's the story there. Because as we talk to quarterbacks, they really don't care too much about the snow. They don't care about rain too much, okay? It's the wind that really has anything to do with their passing situation. So in this game between the lowly Detroit Lions, or the so-called lowly Detroit Lions, San Francisco doesn't think that lowly, against the Green Bay Packers, pros are on the Detroit Lions, and they're also on the under in this situation. So let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look and see what Chris seems to think about this game. We'll see how the line formed in this game, and we'll kind of take a look at see what's happening there as well. So Chris Andrews, who is the head, he's over there in Las Vegas. He's been doing it for almost 30 years now, so we kind of figure he kind of has a good idea as what he's doing. We've been following him over the past few weeks, kind of give you an idea as to how these lines form, and that's very, very important. You want to be a successful handicapper, you got to get into the heads of the guys that make the lines. So let's take that second break. And just a reminder, they're 1 minute long. We'll be back in 1 minute, and we'll talk to you about tonight's game as well. And welcome back. Here we go again. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live right here. The I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. That's what they call it anyway. So thanks for listening. We're here every Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So we talked about the game for tonight. You know, nobody really knows what to expect from Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers, he had one of his worst games as a professional athlete last week against the Saints, leading a lot of people to kind of think if his head and his heart are really into football. Okay, nobody's been talking about Jeopardy and other things, retiring, getting out, whatever. Well, maybe we'll find out this week. The Packers, they're laying a big number against a divisional rival. Last week, it was the Saints. They were out of division. Perhaps they might have an excuse there. This is a divisional game. The Lions scored 33 points with 2 late touchdowns. It was really an uncompetitive loss to the San Francisco 49ers, okay? They almost lost that game. Detroit trailed 41-17 with 2 minutes left in the game. Jared Goff did some good practice reps and against a soft coverage, which may help him in the long term. So the trends, let's take a look at them. Let's see how they're going. The Lions, they're 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 Monday night football games. So they're pretty good, 6-2 against the spread on Monday night games. And we know they haven't been doing that well as far as their position in the NFL North. Detroit is 6-13-1 against the spread in the last 20 weeks in number 2 games. Week 2 games for the last 20 week 2 games, 6-13 against the spread. The over is 7-1 in Detroit's last 8 games following a straight up loss. Now, Green Bay is 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 games following a straight up loss, which happened last week. The Packers are 6-2-1 against the spread in their last 9 week 2 games as well. So here you go. Green Bay 8-1 against the spread in the last 9 games after losing straight up. Lions are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 Monday night football games. So there are some stats to kind of take a look at, to ponder, to give you some thoughts and ideas if you don't want to go along with what the pros are saying and in which direction they're going. In the meantime, let's take a look at Chris Andrews' report as far as this game is concerned. Kind of give you an idea how the Lions formed and how they wound up being where they are right now. He says that he opened Green Bay as a 10.5-point favorite. The early bets were coming in on the Packers. He said that I knew we'd get to 11 eventually, so hey, he went there real quickly. He just jumped right up to 11 because he figured it's going to get there anyway. Money's coming in. Let's do it right now. By late week, he was getting two-way action with some buyback on the Lions. He says, I wouldn't be surprised if the line moved higher before kickoff based on public tendencies. Once again, just what we talked about before. The public tendency, get the team with the big name, home team, favorite. That line could possibly go up to as high as 12 or maybe even more. Now, we'll see how much of a stand the pros want to make on another double-digit dog. We know right now they're leaning towards the Detroit Lions. His opening total of 48.5 was bet down to 48. The public will probably like the over on this game unless the weather in this situation becomes a factor. So there you kind of get an idea as to how it all starts. Starts out at 10.5, getting some action in on the Packers. Figures it'll definitely go to 11. So let me get to 11 right now. Let me raise that number right this minute. So that's exactly what happened. And of course, that's about where we're sitting right now, 10.5, 11, depending on which house you happen to be dealing with, which part of the country you happen to be living in. So that's the story on the Monday night game. It's all about it. As far as the pros are concerned, they're on the Detroit Lions. And once again, just to refresh your mind about what happened this past week as far as the NFL action and the pros and their picks. Yesterday, they had 4 selections. San Francisco, Philadelphia. They had Philadelphia. They lost. the Bills in Miami, they really missed that one because they thought Miami was the choice. Bills blew them out. Miami didn't even score a point. The Rams and the Colts, that one they got. They got the Colts 3.5, 4-point favorite. They lost by 3, and then of course you had the Cardinals and the Vikings at 3.5. So two were very, very close, kind of fit right in, and of course two were losers. One they missed totally without no problem. Not that far away in the Philadelphia game either. Maybe a little bit longer, a little better situation. Philadelphia may have been able to cover that game as well. So that's the story going in. This way you have an idea as to how well or how badly the pros are doing. But then again, it's up to you. You want to bet with them? They're hot. You may look at them and say, hey, they're hot. I'm going to stay with them. Or you could look at them and say, hey, they're hot. They got to cool down. So I'm going to bet against them. So it's up to you to decide which way you want to go. Or you just may want to stay away from the game altogether and go to the over-under on it or some other situation. Anyway, that's the story. Let's get that final break out of the way. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the underdogs and the contrarian style. We'll be talking about that as well. So let's take that final break, and we'll also recap the game for tonight as well. We'll be back in the zone in 1 minute. And here we go again. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live right here from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. Yes, we are. And of course, big game on tonight. You got the Green Bay Packers trying to get going against the Detroit Lions, who, there was a lot of money being bet on the Lions before the season started, according to Chris Andrews. So perhaps maybe there's something going on over there in Detroit that we may not be fully aware of. But, you're looking at 11 and a half, maybe even 12 points. That's something to really think about. But you know what? The underdogs, the way they go, as we see that odds makers and bettors, we really haven't figured the teams out yet. That's why they're doing so well. The odds makers, the bettors, as early as the second week, they really haven't got it figured out as yet as to what team is really better and by how much. This is also indicated by the fact that the 5 most popular picks in some contests are 0-5. Okay, that's at Circa Sports. They have a most popular super contest where you pay $1,000 a week and you try to get into win $1 million. So they're 0-5 to show you how bad. And these are the guys that do this all the time. Okay, this is similar to when you see 80 to 90% of the bets that are being made on any given team. It's time to look the other way if you see that, okay? You see a lot of money coming in on one team. You know where that's coming from? Coming from the general public, okay? Now we know this isn't going to last forever. That's for sure. Nothing lasts forever. The favorites, they're probably going to have a 2-week run at some point in time. They did last season. Okay, it happened last year if you followed us or you were following last season, paying attention to underdogs and favorites. The underdogs came out strongly right from the bat, and then it came kind of settled down. Then you had a couple of weeks where the favorites were coming in very well, and things started adjusting. Sports books, they start learning little things, they start taking advantage of certain information, and they start becoming more closer to what it really will be. But you know what? Chris Collinsworth mentioned that home field advantage yesterday is back after the Ravens upset the Chiefs on Sunday night. And of course, I heard a lot of these similar comments from other guys that are play by play announcers and so called analysts during these isolated incidents. However, you know what? The numbers don't bear that out. The Dogs are 18 and 12 against the spread. That's 60%. Heck, at 14 to 16, home teams aren't even hitting at 500, not even at half straight up. Now, for every time someone says the home field helped the team, I can point to the games like the Vikings and the Cardinals, the Cowboys and the Chargers, where it sure sounded like road fans outnumbered the home crowd, or the fact that the 12th man, remember him, couldn't bring home the win for the Seahawks, who lost in overtime to the Titans at home. So, where is the home field advantage? Remember something. NFL stands for not for long, as there's going to be a lot of reversals of fortune as the season gets along. After week one, we heard that the Saints and the Eagles were world beaters. The Titans were trash. And when the Titans turned around and upset the Seahawks, while the Saints and the Eagles came back to earth, that's what happens. Don't be quick to rush to judgment of what we saw in week two either. Are the Dolphins as bad as their 35 to nothing loss to the Bills? Well, I don't think they are. Okay. Are the Panthers, Raiders, and Broncos as great as they looked at their wins the other day? Probably not. So don't jump to conclusions after just 1 week or 2 weeks. So be very, very careful in that situation. Be careful what you listen to. Kind of take it with a grain of salt. One of the things I like to talk about is I have nothing against all these guys that do all this talking. Hey, they have to make a living. They have to fill some time. There's no doubt about that. But the one thing to remember is this. If you're going to be watching the Sunday pregame shows, whether it's on CBS or Fox, whichever way you're going, or even on NBC for the nighttime show, keep one thing in mind. The most important information you're going to get out of those is who's not going to be playing. They're going to tell you who's not going to be playing, who's maybe got hurt at practice, maybe got a COVID test positive and is not going to play. That's important. Those are the things they will bring you up to date on. And as far as what Michael Strahan says or whoever, Terry Bradshaw, they're making guesses just like everybody else is. So got to take that with a grain of salt, but pay attention to the fact when they start telling you who's going to be playing and who's not going to be playing, or if they go to one of the stadiums and you see snow falling or wind blowing, things of that nature that may affect the line as well. So that's the story there. Anyway, once again, for tonight, the pros, they're on the Detroit Lions taking those 11 and a half, maybe 12 points before it's all said and done. And again, so far, pros have had a stunning first 2 weeks, as they usually do, because the Dogs do very, very well in the start of the season. So that's the story with that. Anyway, thanks again for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, live right here from the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network here in Denver, the Mile High City. And also, we podcast. Yes, you can listen to us later on in the day if you like to. Just tune into one of the podcasts. If you've missed something, perhaps you didn't understand something or something came up, you couldn't hear the whole show, and there's some information you might want to go to, very simply, go to Apple, Spotify, Google, any one of those places. You can find our show there as well. So once again, thanks for listening. It's Monday night. Monday Night Football's the end of week 2 with the NFL. I hope you have a great Monday so far. And of course, if you are, I hope you're also going to have a profitable Monday night as well. So until tomorrow, once again at 1 o'clock, I'm Chris Pardo. Thanks for listening. Have a great Monday. And like I said, if you're betting, I hope you have a profitable Monday as well. Goodbye, everybody.